Ladies and gentlemen, hope you're all doing well. This one should be a pretty quick one. Alrighty, so this guy on screen is named Corey Kell, and he gave this presentation at some Flerf conference back in October. I actually sat through the entire 80 minutes of it, and honestly I struggled to understand what he was actually talking about. He kept talking about this 45-degree sector test and lines of parallel and all these acronyms that he made up like SIMOs and STOs. And I wasn't the only one that wasn't picking up what he was putting down. Everyone in the comment section was pretty confused as well. So it wasn't until I emailed the dude and chatted to Brian Leakey that I actually understood what his test was. And this is basically it. So we have the globe here and we're looking down onto the North Pole. At the base of that yellow line we have our observer, and wherever that observer is, it's his solar noon. So regardless of his latitude, he doesn't have to be at the equator like I've drawn. Wherever he is, the sun is at its highest point during the day and is either directly north or directly south of him. Or maybe he's in the tropics and the sun is 90 degrees directly overhead. Now, since the Earth rotates 360 degrees approximately every 24 hours, then every 3 hours it should rotate 45 degrees. And on this diagram, if you place yourself at that plus 3 hour position, then the sun is obviously going to be a lot lower in the sky. And according to Corey's geometry, since the maximum angle at solar noon can be 90 degrees, and we've just rotated away 45 degrees, then the maximum elevation angle that we can measure to the sun is 45 degrees. Similarly, 3 hours before solar noon, we basically have the mirror image position. The sun can never be higher than 45 degrees. So right now I'm sure there are more than a handful of globers yelling at the screen, pointing out what's wrong with the diagram. And I'm also sure that not a single Flerf has picked it up, because they just can't seem to grasp geometry in 3 dimensions. So if the globers can just hold their fire for a few minutes, that would be marvelous. So that's Corey Kell's thesis, compressed from about 40 minutes of gibberish down to about a minute. So if the elevation angle to the sun measured more than 3 hours from solar noon is greater than 45 degrees, then the Earth is not a spinning ball. So what he did over the course of about 6 months is take a whole bunch of observations, so 3 hours either side of solar noon, and record the elevation angle to the sun. So in the second column, you can see the date of the observation. The next 4 columns are the morning observations, so 3 hours before solar noon. And the next 4 columns are the afternoon observations, which is 3 hours after solar noon. And if there is ever a reading greater than 45 degrees elevation, then he's colored that cell in green. And according to him, that's a fail for the globe model. So you can see the first fail happened on April the 18th, where he measured the elevation of the sun to be 45.6 degrees at 9:02 in the morning. Obviously that implies that solar noon on that day was at 12:02. Unfortunately for Corey though, solar noon that day was not 12:02, it was actually 11:52 and 8 seconds when the sun was precisely due south. And it's not until the 11th of May until he realizes that his timing is off and he starts taking some measurements a little bit earlier in the day. So this one he takes at 8:50 a.m. And he measures an angle of 47.1 degrees to the sun. If I wanted to be pedantic, I'd actually exclude this one as well, because he's technically 1 minute too late. So solar noon for that day was at 11:49 and 12 seconds. But the measurement is pretty significantly higher than 45 degrees, so I'll let that one slide for now. Right, so we seem to have measured an angle greater than 45 degrees 3 hours before solar noon, and according to Corey, that destroys the globe model. So what do you guys think? Do you reckon he's debunked the globe, or is it more likely he's just misunderstood the model? Of course he fucked it up, because like almost every Flerf, he failed to think in 3 dimensions. So let's walk through this diagram for the benefit of the Flerfs and continue with Corey's logic. So in Corey's model, after 3 hours, we've rotated 45 degrees. That means that after 6 hours, we've rotated 90 degrees. And according to Corey's logic, the elevation to the sun should be 0 degrees. And if we measure anything greater than 0, then we've falsified the globe model. But because Corey visualized this problem in only 2 dimensions, he's actually implying here that each day is precisely 12 hours of sunlight and 12 hours of darkness. And of course that doesn't happen in reality. We get longer days in the summer and shorter days in the winter. So who can guess where he messed up? That's right, the reason for the season, axial tilt. And that's why that previous diagram is wrong. So to make it easier, we're going to visualize this from side on. So in this image, we've got the northern hemisphere tilted towards the sun, and we'll say it's the summer solstice. So the sun is directly overhead the Tropic of Cancer, somewhere around Taiwan or Hong Kong. But 6 hours of rotation away, near Saudi Arabia and Egypt, if you look at the terminator line, you can see that the sun has been up for quite a while. And that means the sun is not at 0 degrees. And exactly the same geometry applies to wherever 3 hours of rotation is. In the same way that 6 hours away can be above 0, then 3 hours away can be above 45 degrees. And that makes Corey's entire premise wrong. Good try though, champ. So let's now have a look at how he reported his results. So, when applied the test result readings to both globe and flat Earth models, the globe model suffered geometric failure 70% of all tests, while the flat Earth model passed all 100% of tests. Now I had to dig around a bit to actually find where he made a prediction for what he should measure on a flat Earth, and you are not going to believe it. Unlike the flat Earth model, which has a full 90-degree measurable direct sun angle, which puts the flat Earth model well within tolerance. Yep, that's right. If you measure the sun at any angle above 0, 3 hours either side of solar noon, he's counting that as a win for flat Earth. Holy shit, dude. Right, so now that his main set of observations have been dispensed with, we can all point and laugh at his Operation North Star test that he did a few weeks before he spoke at that conference. So somehow he thinks that the angle to Polaris isn't equal to your latitude, it's equal to 90 minus your latitude. Now in reality, Polaris isn't directly over the North Pole, it's about 3/4 of a degree off. So I fired up Stellarium to check the exact elevation for his given observer location and time, and it says it should be at 47.25 degrees. And you can see here that Corey measured 47.2 degrees, so he's pretty much spot on with what the globe model predicts. So, you know, well done for accuracy, I guess, but a huge fail on the prediction itself. Anyway, that'll do for this video. If you have any questions for Corey or just want to comment on the quality of his understanding of the globe model, you can contact him via his website. Later.